Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Backstage Classical Career Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Katrina Stroud, and I'm a classical violinist who started playing at the age of 3. I graduated from the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University with my bachelor's in violin performance, and I'm pursuing my master's in music at the University of Michigan. In this series, I invite esteemed classical musicians onto the show and interview them to tell their stories and give advice to share with others and preserve their legacies. Eugene Watanabe founded the Gifted Music School in Salt Lake City in 2009 with his wife, Dr. Vera Watanabe. Watanabe was the first student in the history of the Curtis Institute of Music to graduate with a double degree in violin and piano. His teachers were Leon Fleischer, Claude Frank, Arnold Steinhardt, Joseph Silverstein, and Andres Cardenas. Watanabe also worked with Isaac Stern and Joseph Gingold. Watanabe has had solo tours throughout Europe, Canada, and the United States, and won major awards at competitions around the world. His students attend prestigious music institutions across the country and have been frequently recognized with top awards at international and national solo chamber competitions. Eugene and Vera were awarded with the Utah Governor Mansion Artist Award for their dedication to community service.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we're at the Sounding Point Academy. Actually, before we started the interview, it's June 13th, and we're in Los Angeles, and there's so many political voices happening right now and so much contention in the country. And I just wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts on, the healing power of music and the way that music can bring communities together of different backgrounds.
I think that's an incredibly timely question because I think the whole purpose of music and music education is its ability to bring people together and to heal and to foster creative and the type of thinking that provides solutions. The music has the power to bring our whole society together.
Definitely, for sure. So, when did you start playing the violin and the piano?
I started when I was 4.
Did you start both of them at the same time?
Pretty much. I started probably the piano a little bit before my sister started giving me lessons as one of her very first students. And then quickly thereafter started the violin.
What led you to the Curtis Institute, and what was your time like there as a double major?
What led me to Curtis was, it's a long story, but basically a very well-known violinist, Joseph Silverstein, former concertmaster of the Boston Symphony, became music director of the Utah Symphony. He came out to Utah, and I was able to become a student. And it was him that encouraged me heavily to pursue music as a career, and also basically pushed me to the auditions at Curtis. And he was probably the person that ultimately led me to do that.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any stories you'd like to share from your time at Curtis?
Oh, lots of stories. I think one of the most wonderful experiences of going to Curtis and any other great music conservatory is the friends and connections that you make. And you make lifelong friends and contacts. And one of my very close friends, Dr. Koji Atwood, who we entered Curtis together. We currently work together to this day. He teaches at the Gifted Music School. And we spent many, many nights together at Curtis. We would, at the time, we had little plastic disc guns. We would carry it around the school and randomly ambush each other with that gear. But we had lots of stories.
Yes. Can you give us a brief timeline of your career in terms of competitions and performances after you graduated from Curtis?
After I graduated from Curtis in both instruments, I took, probably ill-advised, but I took the route of pursuing competitions. I thought that somehow that would lead to some performing career. And so for a number of years after graduating from Curtis, I pursued competitions in the piano world, not the violin world. And so I put violin on pause for a few years. And then a few years later, I got married, and my wife, Dr. Vera and I, we started teaching. And I had a class of piano students, and I had one violin student. And after a while, she said, "I think you should be teaching the violin." So I focused on violin, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So your competitions, were they what led you to the tours that you eventually did?
One of the competitions that I was fortunate, and competitions are very unpredictable. But one of the competitions I was a laureate at provided the prize of management. So I received some concerts, but once that was over, that was over. And never performed, for example, like Hadlick, for example, have not performed as widely, not even close. But it felt good at the time.
Yeah.
Many of these concerts were in very, very small cities. So it's not as if you win a competition, you have a brilliant career. It's a brilliant performing career. So it was an interesting period.
Yeah. Did you enjoy doing the competitions and the tours, or were they, were they a little bit more stressful? What was that time of your life like?
I think I'm going to answer this question in a very roundabout way
Okay.
because I think knowing one's self and figuring out what brings satisfaction and what is rewarding for an individual, I think is a very important facet to have. As a reference, for example, I was thinking today for today's skill class, talking about what is happiness and how does that relate to music and how do we find satisfaction in life. And I think for many years, I was under the notion that I wanted to perform. I wanted to do this. And I did enjoy performing. I do enjoy performing, but I think I enjoy teaching more. And so the competition experience itself, I put a lot of pressure on myself and it was not fun. It was not fun, but I convinced myself it was fun.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed learning the repertoire. I enjoyed studying the music, and I enjoyed the people that I met through it. So I would not give that up for anything.
Yeah.
But as far as wanting, and I think I had a harder time knowing what I wanted to do, which was actually to teach and also to serve and to build communities and to build teams that can serve the community. I think to me that brings me the greatest joy.
So you worked with Isaac Stern and Joseph Gingold. What were they like, and how did they influence your career?
Oh, that's a great question. I was very lucky because at Curtis, one of the amazing things that the school provided was the opportunity to meet and play for so many different guest artists. It was like a hub of incredible artists coming and giving classes, master classes, lessons, and so forth. And I will retain that to this day. And of course, they had an amazing faculty, and I was very fortunate to study with teachers. Well, my violin teacher was Arnold Steinhardt, and my piano teacher was Leon Fleischer, and that in itself was an incredible experience. And one of the regular guest artists that they had come to the school to give master classes was Joseph Gingold. And he truly was a treasure. He would spend oftentimes his lesson giving you stories that were better than any book because he actually knew people like Chrysler, and he would talk about what they were like and how they played and his friendships with these people. And I think that connection to our forefathers and foremothers is what gives us a sense of who we are and who we are as artists and what we want to become. And I think that was incredible. And he came very regularly. It just happened that two of my most influential teachers growing up, Andres Cardenas and Joseph Silverstein, were students of Gingold.
Wow.
And when I first met him, which was actually at his office in Bloomington, he took me aside and he knew who I had studied with, even though I had not met him.
Wow.
And he pointed to their pictures in his office and that sense of history and that he would confer on his people that he worked with. And I just coming back to that story, the uncle took me aside, put his arms around my shoulder and said, "You are part of the family."
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. And I'll also never forget when I played the Brahms concerto for him, how he talked about Joachim and how he demonstrated the secondary theme at the tip of his bow with his raspy voice. Truly, the man possibly influenced violin playing in a way that very few people can through the generations.
Yeah.
He was truly a link, and also a great teacher. And Isaac Stern, he was, again, through a masterclass, I had a chance to meet and know him. And because of his connection with Sasha Schneider, who did the New York Festival Orchestra of New York, connected with that, Isaac Stern invited me to his home to give me lessons. And again, unforgettable because I grew up listening to his recordings, and he had a truly beautiful, pure approach to for example, Mozart and Beethoven. And for me, it was a surreal experience when at his apartment he would grab my violin and demonstrate Mozart, to hear his vibrato, his sense of sound, and his purpose for his sound. I still carry to this day.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure. And that's incredible experiences. And these connections to, like you said, Chrysler, it's just really amazing to still have those and to remember those, because even here at the Sounding Point Academy, Joshua Heifetz's student is here who was Robert Lipsitz's, teacher. It's
yeah.
like, it's the connections,
Absolutely.
legacies.
I think what's forgotten, and you alluded to the political situation going here in LA and the curfew and so forth. Violin playing, learning how to play the violin is truly an art. It's something that you start if one wants to be successful at a very young age. I think one research by Gladwell in his book says it takes 10,000 hours to learn a skill of that magnitude. And of those hours, there's no way currently that you can learn the violin off of YouTube videos or through imitation. It is only learned through those hours of spending one-on-one time with an instructor, with a teacher who invariably students bond with over time. And when you calculate the hours, and I'm just going to use simple math, if one has one lesson a week, an hour, and you have 40 lessons a year, that's 40 hours in a year. That's, almost 2 days of continual time with that person, but spread out over time. And oftentimes in our modern society, that's more quality time than, sadly, some parents have with their kids, sometimes because of the work schedules. And through that time, the student not only learns how to play the violin, but learns how to think, learns how the teacher thinks about solving problems, about beauty, about discipline. And the teacher confers and conveys values and thoughts about the world, and it truly shapes the student. And it really is a way of thinking that a great teacher conveys on their student. And I feel learning the violin is one of the most beautiful ways that we transmit our culture and our values to the next generation. And I feel that if everyone in our world can have violin lessons, music lessons, and have that community of making music together, that it fundamentally changes the world.
Right. No, for sure. I totally agree. So speaking about music education, you founded the Gifted School of Music. And something that I love about your school is that it gives the highest standard of comprehensive music education, regardless of financial background. So what led you to starting this school? And is there a reason you chose Salt Lake City for the location?
Yes, let me answer that question. And thank you for asking that question. The Gifted Music School in Salt Lake was founded by my wife, Dr. Vera Watanabe, Setskaya Watanabe. She's from Russia. And she's a pianist. And it was her idea to start the school. And so we started the school together in 2009. And she came from Russia. And Russia is a country that has community music schools, like conservatory, and one of the most high-level organized music teaching curriculums in history. There really is a comprehensive system that is intended for all, but for the students that want to pursue it at a concert level, they can go to the gifted music school, which is a full-time music school, 5 days a week, intertwined with academics and music training. And the students that receive the training in that system have an unprecedented level of knowledge of theory, solfege, sight reading, literature. I mean, they're functional musicians. It's not just 1 hour a week, but it's full time.
Yes.
And the people who go through that system invariably reach a level of proficiency that is not only incredibly hyper-functional and very different in abilities, oftentimes from other systems like we have here. And so when she came to the United States and they got married, she noticed that there weren't any music schools in Salt Lake, and that's where I'm from. I was born and raised in Salt Lake. And she said, I think this community needs music schools. And I agreed. And so I went to the library and checked out a book on how to start 501c3s, filed papers, and I connected with a remarkable violin pedagogue by the name of Debbie Mensch. And she was on her first board, formed the board, gathered the students, and we started the school.
Wow.
And the goal of the school is precisely what you said, to provide the highest level of music education and provide accessibility to that for all walks of life. And to that effect, we currently have about 800 students, and we have about 55 plus faculty members. All of them, many of them from the top conservatories and schools in the world, quite frankly. And we have 3 programs. We have a conservatory that is full scholarship, and that program consists of about 40 students and is one of the most productive pre-college programs in the country. I think in the last 10 years or so, we've sent 7 or 8 students to Juilliard, 6 to Colburn, more than 6, actually. And of course, Curtis and many students decide to do academic careers. So not only do they go to all our wonderful local universities in Utah, but we have a number, if not many of them, that go to all the Ivy League schools, including many to Yale, Stanford, and Princeton. But kids that do music tend to be very disciplined, or it builds discipline in the kids. And it's a remarkable small conservatory, about 40 students. And then we have a community music school. But probably the most important program at the Gifted Music School is called our GRIT program, which serves about 500 plus students in what's called Title I, or schools where a certain threshold of students have school lunch assistants. And these students get music training up to 4 days a week, 2 hours a day. And they're taught by teachers that have not only have degrees in music, but some of them have trained at Juilliard and New England Conservatory, coming back to teach these kids. And the GRID program is extremely unique. The youngest students are from kindergarten, and it goes all the way through 12th grade. And many of those students who advance and want to do it more seriously, we just started providing private lessons for them. And they are all fully scholarshiped.
Wow. It's amazing. You've built an amazing community there. What was the initial class of the Gifted Music School like? And what were some unexpected challenges you had in creating the school?
The unexpected challenges, was expected and unexpected at the same time. And there are many challenges when one does a nonprofit. It's a nonstop endeavor. When one refers to a nonprofit organization, it truly means that. There is no profit. The whole purpose of a nonprofit is to spend every cent towards the purpose benefiting people. And there's something very beautiful about that, but it also creates challenges. I think the greatest challenge for any nonprofit, particularly music schools, is to raise the funding to make the programs run. And I think that goes without saying. So much of my work as an executive director has been and will be focused, I'd say 90% on fundraising. We simply have to keep asking for help. The flip side of that is through the work and through the asking, you meet some of the most beautiful, wonderful people who truly care about our world. I know oftentimes in the headlines we only see certain news and certain items that are important but stir the people. But the people that support many of these nonprofits are never seen in the news.
Right.
And the good that we accomplish every single day. These for many of these kids, their parents work 2-3 jobs, face very uncertain futures, and because of rent, they can't have struggle. They don't even know if they're going to be sleeping in the same bedroom the next week. And these kids, for many of these kids, being able to come to the school and have that moment of music education, that moment of inspiration, and that moment of community, oftentimes these kids will tell you it's the best part of their day.
Aw.
And it really is an amazing effort to be a part of, but it's incredibly hard work. So I think the unexpected challenges is, yes, raising funding, which should have been expected, but when you're young, you don't forecast all these things
Yes.
accurately. And secondly, I think the other challenge is a constant battle of explaining why
Mm.
what music does and music education does is so important.
What has been the balance like between violin and piano throughout your life, and how do you balance the two now?
Oh, that's very simple. I teach violin right now, and I as much as I love to play the piano, I have not too much time to do that. But as far as my career during my 20s after school, like I mentioned before, I was doing mostly piano. Well, most of my engagements were on piano. In fact, they were all on the piano. It's only thanks to my wife that I think I've found in some ways my true calling.
Yeah, yeah. When you would put one down, do you pick up the other one when you pick it up again? Is it natural or, is it a little bit rusty?
Oh, of course it's rusty. I mean, but at the same time, it's once you learn a skill, and at least for me, I'm very lucky that when I sit down at the piano, it's like putting a glove.
You were talking about all of the students at the gifted school and finding your calling through teaching. What is your favorite thing about teaching?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. What's my favorite thing about teaching? Of course, spending time with the students. And I think for me, every student that I work with, and I'm privileged enough to work with, and I also conduct the orchestra at our school. And I shouldn't say conduct, I'm not a conductor, I coach them. And usually we bring in wonderful guests, like Saul Gardan came to conduct our orchestra. We have wonderful guest artists that conduct, but and I love coaching chamber music as well. But the number one thing I enjoy is spending time with the kids. Every student to me is a treasure, and I feel that finding through the relationship with the student, finding what motivates a student, what the student loves, finding that, as I mentioned before, finding the key to what brings satisfaction to them and affecting their lives in a positive way. To me, that's what obsesses me as a teacher and what I love about teaching. And when a teacher is able to understand a student, both technically, psychologically, mentally, and their environment, and find a way to inspire them to be the best that they can, that is why I do it. That's what I love about teaching. I think the violin happens to be an amazingly wonderful puzzle, a complicated puzzle, but a beautiful one.
Yes.
And you get to spend time with not only the student, but relate them and introduce them to these epic works of art by great composers like Bach, Mozart, Schubert, Brahms, and to be able to, to me, symbolically, that these works are like the great mountain ranges, like the Alps,
Yeah.
or Everest, or Mount McKinley, or it's like these magical works of art, and I get to introduce them to that, and share with them what I see, and also build their discipline and appreciation for work and life, and their relationship to our universe through the violin. To me, that's an endless source of joy, frustration, and reward. That's to me what I love about teaching. And the students, I think I was talking to a colleague. Both my wife and I are fortunate to have students that through one thing or another that led them to major music schools. And more than half of them, I would say, had no intentions to go to a school like Colburn or Juilliard. But through the work that we do with the students, that they discovered, oh, I think I really do want to be an artist. It is actually wonderful. And many of them are like, can't give up. Even though many of them are great academic students. Some of them, of course, go to programs like Juilliard, Columbia. A couple of students do that, but many of them can't give up music. So they're like, I think I will get a music degree first and go to a school like a music conservatory like San Francisco, and then I'll figure out what I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, that was my journey. I wanted to do pre-med. And then when I got into the Robert McDuffie Center, I was like, oh, I should really, just give music a go, try it out. I can always go back to pre-med later. And here I am. I'm pursuing master's at Michigan from my degree in music. And that's what I want to do.
Oh, that's a beautiful story to hear. And I relate to you as well because I did do my pre-med.
Oh, really?
I took my MCAT not too long ago. But spending and being a teacher and being able to work at the school with an incredible team of artists and teachers is something that's nearly impossible to get.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about doing this endeavor with your wife and how doing something that's so committed, so involved with your partner, what that has been like?
It's been wonderful, but it's also challenging because having a school, and of course, for a school of our size to operate is a team effort. There's a incredibly committed board, a board chair, and there are volunteers. We have a full-time staff. It truly is like any institution, a machine,
Right.
but a machine made up of wonderful people. And however, running a school is a 24/7. It's like running a restaurant.
Right.
While I'm even here, there's lessons and bills that need to be collected, bills that need to be paid, payroll. All of this goes 24/7 nonstop. And it requires, in the early days, if something broke down, then it was up to us or one of our staff members to go take care of issues. And that takes a toll. So it certainly is not easy on the family because there's so much work that goes into it all the time. But as we grow, we're hoping that we will be able to find more and more people who can take on different responsibilities. Right. So I can go back to purely just spending time with students.
Yes. Yes. So who do you turn to advice for today?
Who do I turn to advice for? My number one person I turn to advice for is for my wife. But I have a close network of extremely intelligent people who are smarter than me that help advise me. In the musical world, I turn to advice to all my colleagues, and they're frequently or semi-regularly, I call Mr. Lipset. Call Bob and ask him, how do you solve this problem? And man, I'm so grateful for those connections and friends who can give you advice.
Yeah. How would you say your teaching method or your teaching philosophy has changed over the years?
I think my teaching philosophy is evolving every single day. But from my younger years, when I was young, I think my focus was on the wrong things. Like, okay, can I get this student to a certain level so that they can go and compete? And quite frankly, my viewpoint, my philosophy on teaching has evolved to the point where in a large picture, in the large universal picture of one's life, strangely, it doesn't matter to me on some level if that person's going to become a violinist or how in tune they're going to play. What I care is, do they understand the value of doing something well? And so I think my teaching philosophy has evolved in a way that became much more holistic to what is best for the student, what will inspire them, what will lead them to a place where they can find satisfaction. And oftentimes that's through learning a skill such as violin playing, figuring out the puzzle, and learning how to play it in tune with a beautiful sound, with a beautiful bow. And learning that skill gives them a sense of confidence and ability to tackle anything.
Yeah.
And I think my philosophy has changed from teaching violin for a very different purpose, which I think hopefully, at least from my point of view, hopefully has affected the way I approach the student and the violin.
Great. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's a much deeper level and probably much more longer lasting as well.
Absolutely.
So I always like to close out with this one question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to give to aspiring professional musicians?
Oh, the one piece of advice I would give to aspiring professionals, the ones that really want to do it as music, is patience. It's having patience and realizing that what you may be looking for at a given time may change over time, and that's okay. And in fact, finding what one's heart and aptitude and being is capable in best serving our world is ever evolving. And that I think the dissatisfaction and sadness and sometimes frustration occurs when one has a very narrow set of goals that define their success. And I think success has so many different forms that my advice would be have patience and listen to yourself, observe yourself, and be flexible.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to Eugene Watanabe for this incredible interview. His passion for music and teaching shone through, and the work he does at the Gifted Music School in Salt Lake City, Utah, is so important and impactful. Thank you so much for joining me on Backstage Classical Career Conversations, and be sure to subscribe to the show and rate us on the platform you're using. To donate to the show to help us keep creating content, click on the support link in the description. I'm Katrina Stroud, and it was great to see you here. Until next time, stay inspired and listen to the stories of others.